The elegant contestant sparkled under the spotlight. I hid in the shadows, hungry, exhausted, and wearing a coat so thin the wind cut through it. The last thing I expected was for the twin alphas to walk past all of them, straight to me. But let me tell you how I got here. Yunwoo, you missed a spot. I flinched at the voice. Manager Holt stood behind me, arms crossed, nodding toward the corner of the lecture hall where a candy wrapper lay curled against the baseboard. Sorry. I grabbed it quickly, shoving it into my trash bag. He checked his watch. You have 15 minutes before students arrive. Don't embarrass us. The door slammed behind him. I exhaled slowly and kept scrubbing. My knees ached against the cold tile. My stomach had been empty since yesterday's half-eaten sandwich, rescued from the campus cafe's discard bin before anyone noticed. This was my life. Cleaning floors before dawn, classes I could barely stay awake for. Night shifts at the convenience store near the train station where drunk college kids threw change at me like I was a vending machine, orphaned at 17, no family, no pack, no one, just survival. The morning light cut through the windows as I finished mopping. Outside, students were already gathering, voices high with excitement. Did you hear? The Kang twins are coming today. Oh my god, the selection is finally happening. I heard 100 Omegas were invited, the most beautiful in the country. I wrung out the mop and kept my head down. The Kang pack was the most powerful in the nation. Their twin heirs, Seo-han and Ji-hyun, had never taken mates. Today, they would choose from 100 hand-picked contestants, the most elegant, the most refined. I wasn't one of them. I was assigned to serve water. The grand hall smelled like desperation masked in perfume. I stood near the back entrance, gripping a silver tray, trying to breathe through the layered sense of 100 Omegas competing to be noticed. My staff uniform was too big. The white shirt had a stain near the collar I couldn't scrub out no matter how hard I tried. Excuse me, a voice sharp and sweet. I turned. A contestant in a silk gown looked me up and down, her nose wrinkling. You're blocking the path. Sorry. I stepped aside. She passed without another glance, then whispered to her friend loud enough for me to hear. They really let anyone work these events. Did you smell him? Like a wet dog. Laughter. Light and cruel. I swallowed and stared at the floor. Invisible. That was the goal. Invisible was safe. Then the doors opened. The air shifted. Every scent in the room bent towards the entrance like flowers turning toward the sun. Cedar and smoke. Frost and fire. Two currents that wrapped around my throat and squeezed. The Kang twins walked in side by side. Seo-han entered first, tall, cold, his black suit sharp as a blade. His face revealed nothing, no warmth, no interest, no recognition that 100 Omegas were holding their breath for him. Ji-hyun followed, same height, same jawline, but where his brother was stillness, he was heat. His eyes swept the room like he was searching for something worth his time. I stepped back into the shadows, but Seo-han's gaze moved across the crowd, past the glittering contestants, past the desperate smiles, and stopped. On me, my tray trembled. Water rippled in the glasses. I looked away, counted the tiles, reminded myself I was no one. When I glanced up again, he had turned, but Ji-hyun hadn't. He was still looking, eyes dark, locked on mine, his lips curved, just barely. My heart slammed so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Then he looked away too, and the selection began. I exhaled. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. It was nothing, I told myself. A mistake. They were here for the beautiful ones, not me. Never me. The selection moved like a parade of silk and perfume. One by one, the contestants approached the raised platform where the twins sat. Each Omega bowed, smiled, offered rehearsed words about honor and compatibility. Some touched their necks, exposing their scent glands in submission. Seo-han didn't react. His face remained carved from winter. Ji-hyun leaned back in his chair, jaw tight, fingers drumming against the armrest like he was counting down the seconds until this ended. Contestant after contestant. Rejection after rejection. Thank you. No. Next. You may leave. The whispers started. What's wrong with them? That's the 40th one. Maybe they're not here to choose at all. I stayed pressed against the wall, tray balanced on my palm, praying no one would notice me. My stomach twisted from hunger. My feet ached from standing, but I kept still, kept quiet, kept invisible. Then it happened. A contestant in emerald silk turned too quickly, her elbow catching my tray. Water splashed across her gown. She screamed. The room went silent. You idiot! Her voice sliced through the air. She spun toward me, face twisted in rage. Do you have any idea how much this dress costs? I'm sorry, I didn't. You ruined it. She grabbed my collar, yanking me forward. Look at you. You smell like garbage. You don't even belong here. Her friend appeared beside her, smirking. Isn't he that scholarship case? The one who cleans toilets? Laughter rippled through the crowd. My face burned. I tried to pull back, but her grip tightened. Get on your knees, she hissed. Clean it up, now. I sank down, not because I wanted to, because fighting back would cost me my job, my scholarship, everything. The marble was cold under my palms. I grabbed a napkin from my pocket and dabbed at the hem of her dress, hands trembling. Pathetic, someone muttered. Disgusting. Why do they even let people like him in here? I kept my head down, counted the seconds, told myself this would end. Then the room shifted. The laughter stopped. The whispers died. I felt it before I understood it. A pressure against my skin, a weight in the air that made my lungs forget how to work. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, 2 sets. I looked up. Seohan stood 3 feet away, staring down at me with eyes like black ice. His expression hadn't changed, but something in his stillness felt dangerous. Jihyun was beside him, closer, his scent rolling off him in waves, smoke and fire. Burning through the perfumed air, his jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitch. The contestant released my collar like I'd burned her. Alpha Seohan, Alpha Jihyun, I was just... Move! Jihyun's voice cut her off, low, final. She stumbled back without another word. I stayed frozen on the floor, napkin still clutched in my fist, heart slamming against my ribs. Seohan's gaze hadn't left me. He tilted his head slightly, studying me like I was something he hadn't expected to find. Stand, he said quietly. I couldn't move. Jihyun crouched in front of me. This close, his scent was overwhelming. Heat and hunger and something wild underneath. Hey, his voice softened, just barely. Look at me. I did. His eyes searched mine. Dark, intense, unreadable. What's your name? Yu Yanwu. He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting it. Yeonwoo. Behind us, a board member cleared his throat. Alpha Jihyun, the selection is over. Seohan's voice carried across the hall without rising. He hadn't looked away from me once. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Over? But they haven't chosen... We have. Jihyun rose to his feet and extended his hand toward me. Him. The word hit me like a wave. I couldn't breathe. 100 contestants stood frozen in disbelief. The girl who had humiliated me moments ago covered her mouth, face pale with shock. Seohan stepped closer, his shadow falling over me. Him, he repeated, quiet, certain, and the world split in two. I didn't take his hand. Jihyun's fingers hung in the air between us. His eyes flickered with something I couldn't name. Confusion. Then hunger. No. The word fell out of me before I could stop it. This is a mistake. The hall went silent. I scrambled to my feet, stepping back until my spine pressed against the cold marble pillar. I'm not a contestant. I'm staff. I serve water. I don't... We know who you are. Seohan's voice was quiet, but it cut through everything. He stepped closer, and I stopped breathing. Yeonwoo, scholarship student, 3rd year. You clean this building every morning and work nights at the store on Maple Street. My stomach dropped. How do you know that? He didn't answer. Jihyun moved to my other side, blocking my escape. Did you think we came here for them? He tilted his head toward the frozen contestants. 100 pretty faces with nothing behind their eyes? I'm no one. You're lying. Jihyun leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. Your scent doesn't lie, Yeonwoo. It hasn't stopped calling to us since we walked in. I shoved past him, heart pounding. Stay away from me. The crowd parted as I ran. The whispers started before I reached my dorm. By nightfall, my phone buzzed with messages I didn't ask for. Screenshots of posts calling me a gold digger, a manipulator, a nobody who seduced 2 alphas with some cheap trick. Did you see the video? He rejected them to their faces. Who does he think he is? He probably planned this. Get rejected, play victim, get chosen. I turned off my phone and lay in the dark, staring at the cracked ceiling. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Tomorrow, they would realize their mistake. They would choose someone else, someone who belonged in their world, not me. The knock came at midnight. I opened the door, expecting my RA. Ji-hyun stood in the hallway, jacket slung over his shoulder, hair slightly damp from the rain outside. "You're a hard man to find." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Can I come in?" "No." He stepped inside anyway. I said no. I backed away as he closed the door behind him. "You can't just..." "You ran." He said it like an accusation. "No one has ever run from us before." "Then maybe no one's ever told you the truth before." My voice cracked. "I don't want this. I don't want you. Either of you." He stopped moving. For a moment, something raw flickered across his face. Pain? No. That didn't make sense. "You're scared," he said quietly. "I'm realistic. I know what I am, and I know this doesn't end well for people like me." "People like you?" "Nobodies." I laughed bitterly. "You'll get bored. You'll throw me away. And I'll be the one left with nothing." Ji-hyun was silent for a long moment. Then he crossed the room in 2 strides, grabbed my wrist, and pressed my palm flat against his chest. His heartbeat slammed against my fingers. Fast, unsteady. "Does this feel like boredom to you?" His voice was rough. "I've never wanted anything the way I want you, and I don't even understand why." I tried to pull away. He held tighter. "Let me go." "Not until you look at me." I looked. His eyes were dark, desperate, burning with something that made my knees weak. "You can run," he whispered. "You can hide. You can tell yourself this isn't real, but I'll still be here, and so will he." The door opened behind him. Seo-han stepped inside, rain dripping from his coat, expression carved from ice. "You started without me." His gaze moved to my wrist, still trapped in Ji-hyun's grip. How unfair. My heart stopped. Both of them. Here, in my room, and nowhere left to run. "You're coming with us." Seo-han said it like a fact. Like my answer didn't matter. "I'm not going anywhere." I yanked my wrist free from Ji-hyun and stepped back until my legs hit the bed frame. "Both of you, get out." Neither moved. Ji-hyun tilted his head, rain still dripping from his hair. "You think we're the threat? Check your phone, Yeonwoo." I turned it off. "Smart." Seo-han reached into his coat and pulled out a tablet, turning the screen toward me. "But that doesn't stop the threats." I didn't want to look. I looked anyway. Screenshots, dozens of them. Messages filled with words like worthless and whore and "you'll regret this." 3 of them included my dorm address. One included a photo of me leaving the convenience store last Tuesday. My hands went cold. "The contestants come from powerful families," Seo-han said quietly. "Families who don't like losing. Right now, you're the reason their children were humiliated in front of the entire country." "That's not my fault." "It doesn't matter." Ji-hyun moved closer, his voice dropping. "What matters is you're a target. And this building has no security, no cameras, and a lock I could break with 2 fingers. So what? You're my bodyguards now? We're your alphas." He said it simply, like it was already true. "You're not my anything." Seo-han exhaled slowly. "Yeonwoo, this isn't negotiable. You come with us tonight or we stay here until morning. Either way, you're not sleeping alone." I stared at him, then at Ji-hyun, then back at Seo-han. They weren't bluffing. "Fine." I grabbed my bag from the floor and shoved past them toward the door. "But this doesn't mean anything." The Kang estate rose out of the darkness like something from a dream I didn't deserve to have. Iron gates, manicured gardens, a house so large it could swallow my entire apartment building and still have room left over. I sat in the back of the car with my arms crossed, staring out the window, refusing to acknowledge Ji-hyun's thigh pressed against mine, or Seo-han's gaze burning into my profile from the opposite seat. No one spoke. When the car stopped, a woman in a pressed suit opened my door. "Welcome, Mr. Yeonwoo. Your room has been prepared." Your room, like I'd agreed to stay. I followed her through a foyer larger than any space I'd ever lived in. Marble floors, crystal lights, the smell of cedar and jasmine woven into the air like it belonged there. We climbed a staircase that curved toward the 2nd floor, past doors that probably led to rooms I'd never be allowed to see. She stopped at the end of the hall. "If you need anything, the intercom is beside your bed." Then she left. I stepped inside. The room was white and gold and soft in a way I didn't trust. A bed big enough for 4 people. A window overlooking a garden full of flowers I couldn't name. I sat on the edge of the mattress and pressed my palms against my eyes. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. A knock. I didn't answer. The door opened anyway. Seo-han entered first, carrying a tray. Behind him, Ji-hyun held a glass of water. You haven't eaten. Seo-han set the tray on the nightstand. Rice, soup, banchan arranged in small dishes. Eat. I'm not hungry. Your body says otherwise. Ji-hyun sat beside me, too close. You've lost weight since the selection. I can see it in your face. I flinched. You don't know what I looked like before. I do. His eyes met mine. I've been watching you for months, Yeonwoo. The admission hit me like cold water. Why? Because you were the only one who didn't want to be seen. He reached for the chopsticks and held them toward me. Now eat, or I'll do it for you. I snatched them from his hand. Seo-han's lips twitched, not quite a smile, but close. The days bled into each other. I wasn't allowed to leave. Not yet, they said. Not until the threats died down. So I stayed. Seo-han was always nearby, appearing in doorways, sitting across from me at meals, watching me like I might disappear if he blinked. He never touched me, never pushed, but his presence was constant, heavy, impossible to ignore. Ji-hyun was the opposite. He touched me constantly. A hand on my shoulder when he passed, fingers brushing my wrist when he handed me things. Once, while I was reading in the library, he sat beside me and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear without saying a word. I jerked away. Why do you keep doing that? Doing what? Touching me. He smiled, slow and lazy. Because you let me. I don't. You do. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my cheek. You could pull away any time, Yeonwoo, but you never do. I had no answer, because he was right. One night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered downstairs and found the kitchen light on. Seo-han stood at the stove, stirring something that smelled like doenjang jjigae. Ji-hyun sat on the counter beside him, stealing pieces of tofu from a bowl. They looked different, softer, human. Seo-han glanced up. You're awake. Couldn't sleep. Sit. He nodded toward the table. It's almost ready. I hesitated. Ji-hyun patted the counter beside him. Come on, we won't bite. His brother shot him a look. Much? Ji-hyun added, grinning. I sat at the table instead. The soup was perfect, warm and salty and exactly like my mother used to make before she died. My throat tightened. Yeonwoo? Seo-han's voice was quiet. What's wrong? I shook my head. Nothing. But when I looked up, both of them were watching me. Not with hunger this time, not with possession, with something softer, something that made my chest ache. And for the first time since arriving, I didn't feel like running. The question came without warning. Where's your family, Yeonwoo? Ji-hyun asked it casually, like he was asking about the weather. We were in the garden, the afternoon sun warm against my skin, the scent of jasmine thick in the air. I stopped walking. I don't have one. He turned, eyes narrowing. Everyone has family. Not me. I kept my voice flat, controlled. They're dead. Silence. Seo-han had been reading on a bench nearby. Now the book lay forgotten in his lap. His gaze locked on my face. How? Ji-hyun's voice had changed, softer, careful. I shouldn't answer. I never talked about this, not to anyone, but something about the way they looked at me, not with pity, but with patience, cracked something loose inside my chest. Car accident. The words felt like glass in my throat. I was 17. They were driving home from my father's office. A drunk driver ran a red light. Neither of them spoke. I wasn't in the car. I laughed bitterly. I was supposed to be, but I stayed late at school for a study group. When I got home, there were police cars in the driveway. The memory rose like bile. Flashing lights. A woman's voice telling me to sit down. The smell of coffee in a police station where I waited for someone to claim me. No one came. I had no other family, I continued, voice hollow. No aunts, no uncles, no one who wanted a 17-year-old orphan with nothing to offer. So I went into the system. Aged out at 18. Got the scholarship, and here I am. Ji-hyun moved first. He crossed the space between us and pulled me into his chest without a word. His arms wrapped around me tight. his chin resting on top of my head. I didn't push him away. You survived alone, he said quietly, for 5 years, with no one. Survival isn't living. The words slipped out before I could stop them. It's just not dying. His grip tightened. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Then warmth pressed against my back. Seohan's chest, solid and steady. You're not alone anymore. His voice was low, rough. Whether you want us or not. That night, Seohan found me in the library. I was curled in a chair by the window, staring at the moon when he appeared in the doorway. Can't sleep? He asked. Can you? He didn't answer, just walked over and sat in the chair across from me, close enough that our knees almost touched. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, I was raised to be cold. I looked at him. My father believed emotions were weakness. His voice was quiet, stripped of its usual control. He trained it out of me. Every tear I cried, as a child earned a punishment. Every attachment I formed was severed. By the time I was 16, I felt nothing. For anyone. My chest ached. Ji-hyun was different. He fought back. Raged. Refused to be broken. A faint smile crossed Seohan's lips. I envied him for it. Still do. Why are you telling me this? His eyes met mine. Dark. Unguarded. Because you shared your wounds, and I wanted you to know you're not the only one who learned to survive by disappearing. I didn't know what to say, so I reached out and touched his hand. He went still. Then, slowly, his fingers turned and laced through mine. We sat like that until the moon shifted across the sky. The next morning, Ji-hyun cornered me in the hallway. You held his hand last night. I froze. Were you watching? I'm always watching. He stepped closer, crowding me against the wall. Do you like him more than me? This isn't a competition. Everything is a competition. His jaw tightened. I've spent my whole life fighting for scraps of attention. From my father, from the pack, from everyone who looked at Seohan first because he was the calm one, the controlled one, the perfect heir. His voice cracked on the last word. Ji-hyun, I'm not perfect. He pressed his forehead against mine, breathing hard. I'm jealous and possessive, and I want things I shouldn't want. I want you so much it scares me, and I'm terrified that when you finally see who I really am, you'll run. My heart slammed against my ribs. This wasn't the cocky alpha who teased me. This was someone raw, broken, desperate to be enough. I lifted my hands and cupped his face. I'm not running. He searched my eyes. Promise? I can't promise forever. My voice trembled. But I can promise right now. And right now, I'm still here. He exhaled shakily and pulled me against him. That evening, the three of us sat together for dinner. The tension had shifted, softened. We talked about small things. Books, food, memories that didn't hurt as much when shared. At one point, Ji-hyun stole a piece of meat from Seohan's plate and Seohan flicked a grain of rice at his forehead in retaliation. I laughed. They both stopped and stared at me like I'd just performed a miracle. What? I asked. Nothing. Seohan's voice was quiet. That's just the first time we've heard you laugh. My face warmed. Ji-hyun leaned closer, grinning. Do it again. I can't just laugh on command. He tickled my side. I yelped and shoved him away, but a laugh escaped anyway, bright and startled and real. When I looked up, both of them were smiling. Not smirking, not teasing, smiling. And something inside me, something that had been locked away for years, began to crack open. It started with rain. I woke to the sound of it hammering against the windows, thunder rolling across the sky like a warning. The room was dark except for flashes of lightning that turned everything silver for half a breath. My chest felt tight, wrong. I couldn't explain it, just a heaviness that pressed against my lungs, made my hands tremble, made my skin feel too thin for my body. I climbed out of bed and walked to the window. The garden below had turned into a black mirror, reflecting nothing but the storm. A knock. I didn't answer. The door opened anyway. Seohan stood in the hallway, barefoot, wearing a gray shirt that looked slept in. His hair was messy, his eyes searching. You felt it too, he said quietly. I didn't ask what he meant. Somehow I knew. The bond. Whatever invisible thread connected us, it had tightened tonight, pulled, made being apart feel like drowning. He crossed the room without waiting for permission and sat on the edge of my bed. I stayed by the window. Where's Ji-hyun? Coming. Seohan's voice was low, rough with something I couldn't name. He woke up the same time I did. We both felt it. Felt what? His eyes met mine. You. Ji-hyun arrived moments later, rain still clinging to his skin. He must have gone outside. His shirt was soaked, sticking to his chest, and his hair dripped onto the floor as he closed the door behind him. I checked the perimeter. He said, no threats, just a storm. You went outside in this? I stared at him. Are you insane? Probably. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I couldn't settle. Something felt wrong. I thought... He stopped, swallowed. I thought something happened to you. I'm fine. You're not. He crossed to where I stood and lifted his hand, pressing his palm flat against my chest, over my heart. It's racing. You're scared. I'm not. Don't lie to me. His voice cracked. Not tonight. Please. The rawness in his words broke something open inside me. I reached up and covered his hand with mine. I don't know how to do this. I whispered. I don't know how to want two people at once. I don't know how to trust that you won't leave. I don't know how to stop waiting for everything good to disappear. Seohan rose from the bed and moved to stand behind me. His hand settled on my shoulder. Warm. Steady. Then let us show you, he said quietly. We sat on the floor. I don't know who suggested it. Maybe no one did. We just ended up there. Backs against the bed, shoulders touching, watching the storm rage outside the window. Ji-hyun's hand found mine first. His fingers laced through my own, squeezing gently. Seohan's followed. He took my other hand, his grip firmer, like he was afraid I'd slip away if he loosened it. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Ji-hyun broke the silence. I never thought I'd share anything with him. He tilted his head towards Seohan. We've competed our whole lives. For our father's approval. For pack standing. For everything. And now? I asked. He turned to look at me. Now I think maybe the only thing worth having is the one thing we can't divide. My breath caught. Seohan shifted beside me, his thumb tracing slow circles against my knuckles. He's right, he said quietly. I've spent years trying to feel nothing, convincing myself that control was the same as strength. But when I'm with you... He paused. I don't want to be numb anymore. Lightning flashed. In the white light, I saw them both clearly. Two men who had been raised to fight, to compete, to conquer. Now sitting on a floor beside a nobody, holding his hands like he was the only thing keeping them anchored to the earth. I don't understand why you chose me, I whispered. Because you didn't want to be chosen. Ji-hyun's voice was soft. Everyone else looked at us and saw power, status, a future they could use. You looked at us like we were a threat. You were. We still are. Seohan's lips curved faintly. But maybe you're learning we're worth the danger. The storm quieted slowly. At some point, I ended up between them, my head on Ji-hyun's shoulder, Seohan's arm wrapped around my waist from behind. Our breathing had synced without me noticing. Stay, Ji-hyun murmured against my hair. Tonight, just stay. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? I turned my head to look at him. His eyes were half closed, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. I promise. Seohan's arm tightened around me. His lips brushed the back of my neck. Barely a kiss, more like a breath made solid. You're ours, he whispered. Not because we claimed you, because you let us in. My eyes burned. I didn't cry, but I came close. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of warmth. Not fire, not heat that consumed, just warmth. The kind that seeps into your bones and stays there. The kind I hadn't felt since my parents were alive. I woke once, briefly, in the gray light before dawn. Ji-hyun was snoring softly against my shoulder. Seohan's hand rested over my heart, his breath slow and even against my hair. For the first time in 5 years, I didn't feel alone, and that terrified me more than anything, because now I had something to lose. I ruined everything with 6 words. The morning after the storm, the estate felt different, lighter. Ji-hyun smiled more. Seohan let his guard down in small ways. A lingering touch, a softness in his voice when he said my name. For 3 days, I let myself believe it could last. I should have known better. It happened in the library. I was reading by the window when Seo Han found me. He sat across from me without speaking, his presence settling into the space like it belonged there. After a while, he asked, "What are you reading?" I showed him the cover, an old poetry collection I'd found on the shelves. "My mother used to read that one." His voice was quiet, distant. "Before she left." I looked up. Left? She couldn't handle my father. The coldness, the control. One morning she was gone. No note. No explanation. He stared at the floor. I was 8. My chest ached. I set the book aside and moved to sit beside him. Our shoulders touched. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a long time ago." But his jaw was tight, his hands clenched in his lap. Without thinking, I reached out and covered his fist with my palm. He looked at me, really looked, and something in his expression cracked open. Vulnerable, raw. Yunwoo. My name came out rough, almost broken. "I'm here. I know." He turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through mine. "That's what terrifies me." We sat like that for a long time. The silence felt sacred, safe. Then, without meaning to, I whispered the words that destroyed everything. "Sometimes you're the only one who makes me feel safe." I meant it as comfort, a gift. I didn't know Ji-hyun was standing in the doorway. The growl came first, low, dangerous, a sound that vibrated through my bones and made every instinct scream run. I turned. Ji-hyun stood at the entrance, his face carved from fury, his eyes locked on our joined hands. "What did you just say?" "Ji-hyun." Seo-han rose, positioning himself slightly in front of me. "Calm down." "Calm down?" Ji-hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. "He just said, you're the only one who makes him feel safe. The only one." "That's not what I meant." I stepped forward, heart pounding. "I didn't mean..." "Then what did you mean?" He moved closer, each step heavy with barely controlled rage. "Because it sounded like you've already chosen. Like, I'm just a second option you're tolerating until you can get rid of me." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" His voice cracked. "I've spent my whole life being second. Second to him, second to everyone, and now you..." He stopped, breathing hard, eyes glistening. "I thought this was different." "It is different." "Then why did you say it?" He grabbed my shoulders, gripped too tight. "Why him? Why not me?" Seo-han moved. "Let him go." Ji-hyun's head snapped toward his brother. "Stay out of this." "You're hurting him." "I'm not..." He looked at his hands, at the way his fingers dug into my arms and released me like I'd burned him. I wasn't trying to..." He stepped back. Then again. His scent had turned bitter, smoke without warmth, fire eating itself alive. "Ji-hyun, please." I reached for him. "Let me explain." "Don't." He held up a hand, face twisting. "Just... don't." Then he turned and walked out. Seo-han went after him. I heard them in the hallway. Voices rising, words I couldn't make out, then a crash that shook the walls. I ran. When I reached them, Ji-hyun had Seo-han pinned against the wall, forearm pressed against his throat. Their scents clashed in the air, cedar and smoke, frost and fire, no longer complementing each other but warring. "You always take everything," Ji-hyun snarled. "Everything that matters." I didn't take him. Seo-han's voice was strained but steady. "He's not a prize to be won." "Then why does he look at you like that? Why does he trust you and not me?" "He trusts you too." "Not enough." Ji-hyun's voice broke. "Never enough." I couldn't breathe. Their fury pressed against my skin. Their pain bleeding into my lungs. The bond that had felt like warmth now felt like chains, pulling in opposite directions, threatening to tear me apart. "Stop." My voice came out small, weak. They didn't hear. "Stop!" They froze. I was shaking. Tears streamed down my face without permission. My legs gave out and I collapsed against the wall, sliding to the floor. "I can't do this." The words tore out of me. "I can't be the reason you destroy each other." "I won't." Both of them stared at me. Ji-hyun released Seo-han. "Yeonwoo." "No." I pushed myself up, backing away from both of them. This was a mistake. All of it. I should never have come here. I should never have let myself... I couldn't finish. Seo-han stepped toward me. "Please, let us..." "Let you what?" "Fight over me." Tear each other apart while I stand in the middle? I laughed bitterly, wiping my face with the back of my hand. I've been alone my whole life. I know how to survive that. But this? I gestured between them. This will kill me. Silence, heavy, suffocating. I turned and walked away. Neither of them followed. I locked the door and didn't come out for 2 days. Food appeared outside my room. I didn't touch it. Notes slid under the door. I didn't read them. Knocks came at all hours. Sometimes soft, sometimes desperate. I pressed my pillow over my ears and pretended I couldn't hear. My body ached in ways I couldn't explain. The bond pulled at me constantly, a rope around my ribs that tightened every hour I stayed away from them. But the pain of being near them was worse, so I chose the slow suffocation instead. On the third morning, I finally opened the curtains. Sunlight flooded the room, harsh and unforgiving. I looked at my reflection in the window. Hollow cheeks, dark circles, lips cracked from dehydration. I looked like I was dying. Maybe I was. A soft knock, different from the others. Hesitant. Yeonwoo. Seohan's voice, muffled through the wood. I'm not asking you to open the door. I just need you to listen. I didn't respond. He continued anyway. I talked to Ji-hyun. Really talked. For the first time in years, maybe ever. A pause. We've been so busy fighting over you that we forgot to ask what you actually needed. And that's not love. That's possession. You deserve better than that. My throat tightened. I'm not going to promise we'll be perfect. We won't. We're broken in ways that might never fully heal, but I can promise that we'll try. Both of us, together. His voice dropped. If you'll let us. Silence. Then footsteps fading down the hall. I pressed my forehead against the door and cried. An hour later, another knock. It's me. Ji-hyun. His voice was rough, like he hadn't slept. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. After what I did, I wouldn't want to hear from me either. I held my breath. I've been angry my whole life, Yeonwoo. Angry at my father for making me feel worthless. Angry at Seohan for being everything I couldn't be. Angry at myself for never being enough. He exhaled shakily. When you said those words to him, that he made you feel safe, something inside me broke. Not because of you, because of me. Because I realized I've been so focused on winning that I forgot to ask if you even wanted to be won. A thud against the door, like he'd leaned his head against it. You're not a prize. You're not a trophy. You're a person who's been hurt too many times, and instead of protecting you, I made it worse. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears streamed down my face. I don't know if you can forgive me. But I need you to know. I'd rather share you with him than lose you completely. I'd rather swallow my pride and stand beside my brother than watch you walk away. My hand moved before I could stop it. I unlocked the door. He looked worse than I did. Red-rimmed eyes, unshaven jaw, clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them, or hadn't slept at all. Yeonwoo. My name came out like a prayer. Don't. I held up a hand. Don't say anything else, just come in. He stepped inside, moving slowly, carefully, like I might shatter if he breathed too hard. I sat on the edge of the bed. He stood by the door, keeping distance I hadn't asked for but probably needed. Where's Seohan? Waiting. He didn't want to overwhelm you. I laughed bitterly. Too late for that. Ji-hyun flinched. I'm not saying that to hurt you. I looked at him. Really looked and saw the cracks beneath the surface. The fear, the desperation, the same loneliness I'd carried for years. I'm saying it because it's true. You both overwhelmed me. From the moment you walked into that hall and looked at me like I was something worth seeing. You are... I don't know how to believe that. My voice trembled. I've spent 5 years convincing myself I wasn't worth anything, that no one would ever want me. And then you appeared, both of you, and suddenly everything I believed was wrong. That's terrifying. He moved closer, slowly, knelt in front of me. Then let us prove it. He took my hands, his grip gentle this time. Not with words, with time, with patience. With every day we choose you again and again until you finally believe it. The door opened behind him. Seohan stood in the doorway, hesitant in a way I'd never seen. Can I come in? I nodded. He crossed the room and knelt beside his brother. 2 powerful alphas on their knees before me, waiting. We're not asking you to choose between us, Seohan said quietly. We're asking you to let us both stay. My heart pounded. What if it doesn't work? Then we figure it out together. Ji-hyun squeezed my hands. But we don't give up. Not on each other. Not on you. I looked at them. These two broken men who had somehow found me in the shadows and refused to let go. I'm scared, I whispered. So are we. Seohan reached up and touched my face, wiping away a tear I hadn't noticed. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. Ji-hyun pressed his forehead to my knee. Please, Yeonwoo, let us try. The word rose from somewhere deep inside me. Somewhere that had been waiting 5 years to be found. Okay. The word hung in the air like the first breath after drowning. Okay. Such a small word. Such a terrifying promise. Ji-hyun lifted his head from my knee, eyes glistening. Seohan's hand stilled against my cheek, his breath catching. Say it again, Ji-hyun whispered. Please, I need to hear it again. Okay, my voice cracked. I'll let you try. Both of you. For a moment, no one moved. Then Ji-hyun surged forward and wrapped his arms around my waist, burying his face against my stomach. His shoulders shook. He didn't make a sound, but I felt the wetness seeping through my shirt. Seohan rose and sat beside me on the bed, pulling me against his side, his lips pressed to my temple. Once, twice, lingering. Thank you, he murmured, for giving us another chance. I didn't trust my voice, so I just held on. The days that followed were different, not perfect. We didn't become some flawless unit overnight. There were still awkward silences, moments when old wounds flared, times when Ji-hyun's jealousy surfaced or Seohan retreated into coldness, but they tried. Every single day, they tried. Ji-hyun learned to ask before touching. He'd pause at the doorway and say, "Can I come in?" instead of barging through. When his possessiveness flared, he'd catch himself, breathe and say, "I'm struggling. Can we talk?" Seohan learned to open up. He started sharing small things. Memories of his mother, fears he'd never voiced, moments when he felt inadequate beside his brother. Each confession cost him something, but he gave them anyway. And I learned to receive. That was the hardest part. Accepting care without waiting for the catch. Believing kindness without bracing for betrayal. But slowly, day by day, I started to believe. 3 weeks later, I woke up sick. My stomach churned. My head pounded. The scents that usually comforted me, cedar and smoke, frost and fire, made me nauseous instead. I barely made it to the bathroom before I was on my knees, emptying everything I hadn't eaten. A knock. Then another. Yeonwoo, Ji-hyun's voice worried. What's wrong? I'm fine. I wasn't. My hands trembled against the cold tile. Just give me a minute. The door opened anyway. Both of them stood there, faces pale with concern. You're not fine. Seohan crouched beside me, pressing his palm to my forehead. You don't have a fever, but your scent has changed. Changed how? He and Ji-hyun exchanged a look I couldn't read. We need to call the doctor, Ji-hyun said quietly. The doctor was an older woman with kind eyes and steady hands. She examined me in my room while Seohan and Ji-hyun waited in the hallway, their anxiety bleeding through the closed door. When she finished, she sat back and smiled. Congratulations, Mr. Yeonwoo. My heart stopped. What? You're pregnant. About 4 weeks along, based on the hormone levels. The world tilted. Pregnant. A baby. Their baby. I couldn't finish. Couldn't breathe. Can you send them in? She nodded and stepped out. Seconds later, they rushed through the door. What is it? Ji-hyun grabbed my hand. What's wrong? Are you sick? Is it serious? I looked at them. These two men who had turned my life upside down, who had fought for me and against each other, who had knelt at my feet and promised to try. I'm pregnant. Silence. Ji-hyun's grip on my hand went slack. Seohan stopped breathing entirely. Then Ji-hyun's face crumpled, not with fear, but with something raw and overwhelming. A baby? His voice broke. Our baby? I nodded. He made a sound between a laugh and a sob, pulling me into his arms. Oh my God! Oh my God! Seohan moved closer, his hand finding my back, his forehead pressing against my shoulder. Ours, he whispered. All three of us. A family. I cried then. Really cried. Years of loneliness, years of believing I'd never belong anywhere, years of surviving instead of living. All of it poured out of me in waves, and they held me through every second. That night, we lay together in the big bed. Jihyun on my left, arm draped across my waist. Seo-han on my right, hand resting over my stomach like he could already feel the life growing there. Are you scared? Jihyun asked softly. Terrified. Me too. He pressed a kiss to my shoulder. But also happy. Is that strange? No. I turned my head to look at Seo-han. What about you? He was quiet for a moment. Then, I spent 30 years believing I'd never feel anything real, that I'd live and die numb. His thumb traced circles on my skin. You proved me wrong. Both of you. My throat tightened. You're ours. Jihyun murmured against my hair. Forever. No matter what. And you're mine, I whispered back. Both of you. Seo-han lifted his head and kissed me. Soft, slow, certain. When he pulled back, Jihyun turned my face and kissed me too. Deeper, warmer, full of promise. I fell asleep between them, wrapped in cedar and smoke. Frost and fire. Safe, chosen, home. The elegant contestants had sparkled under the spotlight. I had hidden in the shadows, hungry, exhausted, wearing a coat so thin the wind cut through it. And somehow, impossibly, the twin alphas had walked past all of them. Straight to me. Now I understood why they weren't looking for perfection. They were looking for home. And they found it in a nobody who had forgotten how to hope. If you felt your heart break and heal with Yeonwoo, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because his story isn't over yet. The twins chose him, and the bond is sealed. But the world outside those gates, it's still watching, still waiting, still hungry for blood, and some secrets are only revealed after the mark is made. Part 2 is coming. Don't miss it.